Online games, what simply started as a way for friends to help each other, evolved into the complete opposite with full-scale wars and competitiveness.
You tell people about how you want fucking dick in your mouth and shit?
Dude.
Now the reason I usually play online games is simply because the world feels more alive. Opposed to having an NPC with written responses, you have a real person. Who's your favourite Teletubby? And everyone feels like they have their own purpose and can stand out. Nowadays, most online games, everyone is expected to work as an AI, a cog in the machine to win the match, and no one's really able to express who they are without screwing everyone over and losing the game. But of course, there are some games that are an exception to this, which we'll be talking about today, with one of them being SCP's Secret Lab. SCP Secret Lab is a round-based online game, who would have thought, set in the universe of the SCP, where anomalous objects and monsters are contained in this facility, with each player in the game being sorted into a different role at the beginning of each match, from the security guards to the scientists to even the monsters themselves. Now this game is massive in scale, so in order to talk about it properly, I'll need to start from the depths. Like containment zone, the depths, the bottom of the facility, kind of, not really, but it might as well be. Now the most common role you'd probably be assigned at the start of the game is the Class D. The Class D are the prisoners of the facility and start at the bottom with nothing, and if you start as one of these orange jumpsuit fellas, you are done for as everything is out to kill you. First of all, there's a timer which when reaching 0 will gas the layer of the facility, so you have to find the right items and quickly escape, which are kinda rare and have a limited amount, so unless you can get in a team, which is kinda hard to do in the chaos, it becomes a race to get the loot as fast as possible. Second of all, on why you're gonna die, the SCPs, the big spooky monsters, are coming to kill you, and they have some insane abilities, so unless you're some 1000 IQ juking mastermind, you're dead. And even if you make it past the previous two threats, which is unlikely already, you're a prisoner of the facility, you're not supposed to be escaping, so the guards of the place will try and kill you as well. And unlike the SCPs who, whilst super powerful, do have some weaknesses like their speed or blindness, these guys have a gun, and will most likely kill on sight even if it's disencouraged by the game. So safe to say you are dying, but if somehow you defy all odds and manage to outplay almost everyone including your teammates, you can escape, and all the pain will be worth it as you become one of the best roles in the game, but we'll get to that later. The Class Ds aren't the only thing that spawn down in the depths, as there's also the scientists. The scientists are identical to the D class, but with some key differences. First of all, you start with a keycard. It ain't the best keycard, but it puts you at a slight advantage with your reputation being better, and adding to that is the fact that you work here, so instead of being hunted by the guards like the D class, security will help you escape. SCPs will still fuck you up though. Scientists, unlike D class who normally forge their own path, must parasite to the exit, using D class as their pawns and security guards as cover. Many experienced players will probably be telling the opposite and you can do whatever the fuck you want, but if you're a newbie and you've just been given all these powers and permissions after suffering as a D class, yeah, that's some Stanford prison experiment psychological shit. I thought I'd attach other online games that represent what I'm trying to say about SCP Secret Lab, and none would be better in this scenario than Rust. Rust is a survival game which is just like the depths of SCP Secret Lab. When you begin, you start on an island with nothing, and you can either work your way to the top or leech off other people and manipulate the economy, which whilst yes is faster, you can die way more easily, but if you die you can just go and leech off someone else, but you'll never be as good as the people who built their own army and worked their way to the top, honestly. But it doesn't matter if you're the Giga Chad of the team or the leech of the team, everyone has to work together to take on the threats of the world, and in SCP, scientists, guards, D-Class must in the end work together to take on the true villain of the game, the SCPs, the monsters. The SCPs are generally the class that you'd hope to get, but the more I played the game, the less that became true. As whilst the SCPs do have some insane abilities, they all do have cons, like being really slow, being blind, only being able to move when looked at, which become more and more obvious and painful the more you play. But there's a reason for that, as you're supposed to use teamwork with other SCPs to fill in each other's problems. So in the long term, for winning a match, the SCPs require a lot more difficulty and strategy to win than other classes, because with other classes, it's just run and shoot. Now in a regular match, if the SCPs are working together, they would have sweeped everyone by this point in the game. Most of the D class and scientists are probably dead, with only the security guards keeping the game alive. But then comes the security guards' backup, the MTF. During the mid-game, everyone who has died or is spectating will respawn as an MTF, who are almost the complete opposite to the SCPs. Unlike the strategic SCPs, who are all special in their own ways, the MTF have pretty much similar gear and pretty much don't coordinate and will just muck about and end up shooting and running. Most SCPs are slow but strong, but all the MTF are fast but weak, which kinda leads into a bit of stalemate in the round, as it mostly just becomes a monster hunting sim, as the MTF just try and go after the SCPs, and same goes for the SCPs, and it's just a bit of a back and forth between the two sides. As the game goes on in this middle game stalemate, characters begin to form. Whether it be a D class who's made it this far, a scientist who has a bunch you could loot, an MTF who's the last standing man on his team, you begin to recognise people's faces and, they become their own kind of characters, which makes it even more memorable when they die, whether it be from some freak accident or some noble standoff. Each death fills you with a massive sense of melancholy as you get sent back to the spectator lobby. And that's what I just love about this game, and we've come kind of full circle from what I talked about at the beginning of the video. Now, after this long, gritty battle between all the different characters and roles and factions and everything, the game will maybe end. Maybe the SCPs clean out the MTF due to their teamwork, maybe the MTF's pure madness manages to wipe out the SCPs and bring them to their limits, but sometimes there's a third outcome, the big one, the most interesting one. As you see, there's a whole nother role to this match, a whole nother variable, which can make the already complex and chaotic match get even more complex and chaotic with this whole new faction to take into consideration. And earlier in the video when we mentioned you become the best role in the match if you escape as a D class, well, yeah, that's that role that we're talking about now, the Chaos Insurgency. The Chaos Insurgency are epic. They're the only role in the game where it's mandatory to help out the D class, so basically it's backup for the little guy. They have the most unique weapons like a shotgun, a revolver, and this big boy. The SCPs, who are at this point battered and beaten after everything, will resort to leeching off the Chaos's teamwork and help to meet a few victory conditions, and overall they're just pretty cool. At this point in the game, the SCPs are probably out of the way and beaten up, so it's just Chaos versus MTF, so it essentially becomes a Call of Duty match. With the addition of Chaos, the game goes from being a simple good guys versus bad guys to a more realistic depiction of war, with everyone having their own side and story to them. Doesn't matter if you're a lowly D class, you can escape and become a Chaos and take over the server. Doesn't matter if you're just another MTF, you can activate the nuke and blow up everything. It doesn't matter if you're some random scientist, grab a laser gun and terminate all the SCPs, it's just very cool. There's another game I want to talk about called Gun Raiders, which is basically SCP Secret Lab in its simplest form without all the complicated roles and layers, and just the chaos and independence. It's a VR shooter game with a large arsenal of weapons, and whilst the game is meant to have lots of game modes and maps, most people just end up mucking about in the lobby shooting each other with whatever gun combos they've come up with. And it's in this chaos that stories emerge. Players begin to make teams, make friends, then rival teams begin to show up, then base locations are established, hierarchies, and before you know it you've got an entire political system in a game about mindlessly shooting each other. And when you get hit with a game over, it doesn't just feel like a death in a game, it feels like the character that you've been cementing and developing into the lore of the server has died, and that massive sense of melancholy back from SCP Secret Lab is back. And that is how to make an immersive game. Alright, let's go, Jackie. You're my best friend, Jackie. Jackie, who's your favourite Teletubby?
Wait, guys, do you want to hear my favourite song?
What? Oh.
Okay.